Marketer of the day, number 414, The Land Geek. How to make money using raw land, refine your process, and teach others to repeat your proven system with Mark Podolsky. Hey everyone, and thanks for listening. We're talking right now with Mark Podolsky, and Mark is the Land Geek, and he's widely considered the country's most trusted and foremost authority on buying and selling raw, undeveloped land within the United States, and he's been actively investing in real estate and raw land since 2001 and has completed over 5,000 unique transactions. He is the host of one of the top-rated podcasts in the investing category on iTunes, and that's called The Best Passive Income Model and The Art of Passive Income, and he's the host of the Land Geek Podcast. So this sounds like a guy that has a bunch of stuff out there, lots of things to say. Can't wait to jump in. How are things, Mr. Mark?
Robert Plank, I'm thrilled to be here. My pulse is normal. My respiration's fine. Doing great.
Cool. Got all your vital signs. You're alive. You're healthy. Great stuff. So land stuff, real estate. What do you got going on lately?
Oh my gosh, we're busy. Buying, selling. It's, we just bought a subdivision in Texas. We bought a company in Colorado that, like a land selling company. We're hustling, Robert. We're hustling.
Great. Well, sounds like the place to be. And, I always hear about all these people doing like crazy stuff, like, buying subdivisions and doing all this stuff. So, but I have to admit that like, I don't know a lot of what's being said. I don't understand a lot of it. So can you kind of, maybe treat me like a dummy a little bit and kind of just tell me like, what's the entry point here? How do I start to unwrap this package? How do I start to understand some of these things that you're doing?
Yeah. Let me walk you through the model. So Robert, where do you live?
California.
Okay. So let's pretend that I go to a county in Texas and I get their tax delinquent list and I see, oh my gosh, Robert Plank owes $200 in back taxes and he lives in California. So you're already advertising to me that you have no emotional attachment to this land and you no longer value it because you're late on your taxes. Maybe you're financially distressed, who knows? So what I'll do is I'll look at the comparable sales for the last, let's say 12 to 18 months, and then I'll divide by 4. And that gets me what Warren Buffett would consider a huge 300% margin of safety. Okay. So then what I'll do is I'll send you this offer for that property. So let's say, for example, that property in Texas has a comp of 10,000. The most I'll offer you is 2,500, right? Now, 3 to 5% of people will accept this quote unquote top dollar offer because you've been getting notices every month. Hey, you owe back taxes. Eventually you're going to lose this property, either a tax deed or a tax lien auction. So you say, hey, look, $2,500 is better than nothing. And you accept my offer. I then go through due diligence, which is, fancy word for research. Do you actually own the property? Are the taxes really $200? Are they $2,000? Is there legal access to the property? Is there any liens or encumbrances on the property? Is title free and clear? So I go through this whole checklist and then everything turns out okay. And then I buy the property. So now I own it for $2,500. And then Robert, I have a built-in best buyer. Do you know who it is?
No idea.
The neighbors. So I send out neighbor letters saying, hey, if you want to expand your holdings, you want to protect your view before I take this to the open market, I'm giving you first right to buy this property at $10,000. Right?
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
So now a percentage of those people will buy them. Now, if they pass, I'll go to my buyers list. And if the buyers list passes, I'll go to a little website you probably never heard of called Craigslist. And I automate it using software. So I can put out 128 ads with a touch of a button, and it's incredible. Now, if that doesn't work, I'll go to Facebook buy sell groups. And then finally, I'll have to go to eBay to liquidate. So I will sell that property within 30 days or less. Now, the way that I'm going to sell it is pretty unique because what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell it for $2,500 down and $449 a month. So basically a car payment. And what this does, it gets my capital out within the down payment or maybe within 6 months of the down. And then I've created a $449 passive income stream for, let's say, the next 5 to 10 years at maybe 9% interest with no renters, no rehabs, no renovations, no rodents. So, and because I'm not dealing with a tenant, I'm exempt from Dodd-Frank, RESPA, and the SAFE Act. So no onerous real estate legislation. So the game that I play is, can I create enough passive income on these land notes where it exceeds my fixed expenses and I'm working because I want to, not because I have to. And then the final sort of cherry on this passive income sundae is that we've automated 90% of the business with software. So I work 2 hours a week in Frontier Properties, and the whole thing's automated, and it's scalable. It's amazing.
That's super great, and I mean, like, so much detail there, and it's great how it's cool how, like, you have a starting point to get all these new fresh leads. Like, you go and look at your county records, and then you have this checklist of, like, okay, here's the plan if everything goes great, but if that doesn't work, you're like, well, there's this fallback number 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 almost, and just all these different things. So it's like, it seems very, very doable and very, like, just go down the checklist, make the steps happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have so many people moving the needle in their lives by doing this model. It's incredible. And so, I've got Sean and Rachel Rickman. They created $4,500 in passive income last year, quit their jobs, and now they're traveling, Europe and doing the land business with their laptop. And they just keep doing deals and traveling because you can do it from anywhere in the world. And it's these types of stories that, motivate me every day to keep teaching and keep getting better at what I do.
Yeah, that sounds great, because there's no labor involved, or there's not that much labor involved. It's not like you have to, like, take your hands and build a house. It's not like you're dealing with nightmare tenants. You're just, like, making all these deals happen over and over.
Yeah, we shuffle paper and we make money.
Super great. And so how did you come across this way of making money with real estate? Like, what is this all you did, or did you try some other stuff before and it led you to this? Like, what's the story there?
Yeah, so I used to be a very miserable investment banker, and I specialized in mergers and acquisitions with private equity groups, mid-market stuff, 5 to 500 million in enterprise value. And I hated it. I had a 45-minute commute to work and back. I was micromanaged. I had long, pressure-filled hours, very stressful, no control. And it got so bad, Robert, that I wouldn't get the Sunday blues anticipating Monday rolling around. I'd get the Friday blues anticipating the weekend going by really fast and having to be back at work on Monday. So my firm hires this guy, and he's telling me that on the side, he's going to these tax deed auctions. This is 2000, by the way. And he's buying up property, pennies on the dollar, and he's flipping it online, and he's making on average a 300% return on his investment. Well, I'm looking at companies all day long, and a great company has 15% EBITDA margins or free cash flow. Great company. Your average company is at 10%, and I'm looking at companies all day long less than 10%. So I don't believe him that he's making 300%. So I got $3,000 saved up for car repairs. I go to New Mexico with him, and I just did exactly what he said. I bought 10 half-acre parcels in New Mexico at an average price of $300 each, put them online that next week. They all sold for an average price of over $1,200, 300%. He was right. So I took all that money, and I went to another auction in southern Arizona, and there's no one in the room, and I'm buying up properties left and right. And after that auction, I made over $90,000 just flipping property. So I said to my wife, I'm like, honey, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to sell land full time. And she's pregnant at the time. She says, absolutely not. So I said, okay, fine. So I invested in raw land part-time for 18 months until the land investing income exceeded the investment banking income. And that was in 2001, and I quit, and I've been doing it full time ever since.
Awesome. And what I'm kind of noticing here is it sounds like some of the transactions that you're doing here are kind of low ticket as far as real estate goes. Is there are they all like that, or is there a reason for that?
Yeah, because we're not trying to buy property in Manhattan, right? We're not looking to compete with billionaires buying up farmland and make 8%. So we're looking at distressed property, maybe 2 to 3 hours from the nearest city in areas of the country like California, Florida, Nevada, Colorado, Texas, Arizona, fast-growing countries, the Sunshine States, and buying up properties 20, 25 cents on the dollar. And so this way, there's so much land in this country, and we might spend, anywhere between $500 to $20,000 on a parcel. So not big money involved at all. I started with $3,000. My buddy Duran, who's a multimillionaire now, started with $800. Some of my clients have no money, and they just lock up the property. They send out neighbor letters. They do a dual close. They get infinite ROI because the neighbor then buys it, and then they do a dual closing, and they don't use any of their own money. So it's a really, sort of neat, non-competitive niche, because you don't go on HGTV or the DIY network and say, flip this land. It'd be boring. It'd just be me in front of my computer, right? So it's really kind of cool that way.
And is there a reason why? I mean, why the heck doesn't everyone else do this? I mean, you went to that auction in New Mexico, or where that one was, and like you were the only one there. So I mean, why is that? Why isn't everyone jumping on this?
Well, I mean, it's just like anything else. It's a simple model, but it's not easy, right? And there's also fear of the unknown. If you have to sort of embrace the suck with any new endeavor, and that's scary. That's hard. If you've never, bought a piece of real estate, you've never marketed a piece of real estate, there's all these steps involved, and it's a lot easier to watch the latest Netflix show, Ozark, on Netflix. You just continue on with your life.
Fair enough. Well, to make sure that when people, if they've had this idea, or they want to make money, to make sure that they actually go through it and they do it, and they avoid the gotchas, they make sure they know all the do's and don'ts. I assume you have a course that shows all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, we got tons of free information. We've got a course. We got something called Flight School, which is basically a group coaching course where you have to execute in real time. Because what we found is that even if we give you a course, it's hard, right, to just execute on your own. In this way, it's like personal training. You execute with your Flight School class, and you send out offers the first week. You do due diligence the second week. You have Q&A, and it's a whole 16-week program. It's amazing. So, we really are Sherpas in that sense. We take you up the land investing mountain quickly, safely, and efficiently so that you don't get hurt. And, we have that. Just you can start at thelandgeek.com to learn more.
So the landgeek.com, and so that Flight School class that's mentioned on there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. You can schedule a call with one of our Land Geek coaches, and they'll walk you through it.
Okay, great. Because so that people go there, they know that they're getting what they're looking for. And so I'm really curious about this Flight School concept that you have, because like I really like the business model that you've laid out here, but then even just hearing it, I get a little bit scared. I'm thinking like, oh, what if I'm doing the steps the wrong way, or what if I'm buying some land somewhere and I miss some of the due diligence, and now I'm stuck with this piece of land. And so I'm really curious about this concept of this live group of students who are taking the class with you. And so and you mentioned a little bit about how like on the first week they do this, and the second week they do that. So what's the kind of timetable on this?
So it's a 16-week timetable, but it moves fast. I mean, basically by 10 weeks, you should already have your first deal coming in. And in the course, you should get about a 10x return on your investment just on the education piece of it. So we just kind of take you through every step of the business, step by step, from, getting a list and then scrubbing that list, pricing that list, sending out your offers, using our software, which it's called LG Pass, the Land Geek proprietary automated software system. So you start getting automated from day one. And then you send out the offers, they come back, you learn how to do your due diligence, we give you that checklist, and then we teach you how to close quickly and efficiently and safely with that seller. So now that you own that property, we provide you that neighbor letter. So then you start shipping out the neighbor letters, and we show you step by step how to find the neighbors and how to get that list. And then those neighbor letters automatically go out. Then we show you how to build a buyer's list and how to create a website and a squeeze page and an ethical bribe and an autoresponder series. And you just kind of go step by step by step until you start selling your property. And then we automate it on the back end. We have a program called geekpay.io that actually automates the collection of the note payments every single month with notifications via ACH. So you're assured you're going to get paid. And we just take you through it every step of the way. There's question and answer periods, and you're not alone then, and you're guided doing it. And the great thing about it is you have to do it, right? Like I've taken courses before. I've gotten physical, courses, and I've gotten digital courses. And, if no one's pushing me to do it, I might not go and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this you have to do. You're with a class, there's accountability, and it's a very different feel than just getting this sort of, textbook, if you will, and kind of going through it yourself and not knowing if you're doing it right.
Yeah, I can imagine like a place to go in there and ask questions and to feel like, I don't want to get left behind if all the other classmates are going out there and doing some cool stuff. And you mentioned in there that, okay, so you have all these, like the templates and the software to get it done. And you mentioned in that sort of curriculum in there that part of the process involves making a bribe and making an opt-in page and things like that. And so, like, what's the reason for that? Why do people flipping raw land need to make a website?
Well, the reason being is that it's the only thing you really own is your list of potential land investors, right? Facebook could change their algorithm and not allow it. Craigslist could change their algorithm and not allow it. And so if you can start building sort of a list of people that like you, know you, trust you, and you can send them a promotion every single week to buy raw land, that you can slowly build over time, and you won't be so dependent on these other platforms to sell your property.
Okay, and do you happen to know, like you mentioned, when you go through your list there, like you start with the neighbor letters and then you go with the buyers list afterwards, and then after that you go to Craigslist. So that list that you mail to, are those people who like bought land from you previously, or what is that buyers list you're mailing to exactly?
Yeah, so those are people that have either said, "Hey, I'm interested in buying raw land," or they've actually bought raw land from you in the past.
Okay. All right. Well, super cool. And so you make an opt-in page and you make this bribe. And so what should this bribe be?
So, I like to say that, what is it? Great artists or good artists copy, great artists steal. So I just tell people, take my bribe and do the, how to avoid the 3 fatal land buying mistakes, and start teaching and educating your potential customer how to be a better land investor. And that starts building up that trust, building up that credibility. And so then when they are ready to pull the trigger, they know you've got their back. You've already taught them how to be a better land investor.
I love it. So why reinvent the wheel? Why do all this new stuff when they can just use your bribe to build their own list, to get their own people educated? I mean, yeah, why make it any more complicated than that? And so you mentioned in here in your conversation that you get this, you go to the county, look at these tax records, you find this sort of delinquent land, and then you send out these feelers. And do you happen to know off the top of your head, like, what percentage comes back, or how much legwork you have to do to get those first responses?
Yeah, so 3 to 5% are going to accept your offer. So if it's under 3%, then you've offered too little for that property. If it's over 5%, you've probably gone too high and you need to retrade. So those are the really good metrics to kind of follow with your mailings.
That's interesting. That's a cool way of looking at it. So it's like, yeah, based on the percentage, like, are you too high or too low? So great stuff there. And so when you have this really great sort of method of making money, you do it yourself, you teach others how to do it, they teach others how to do it. When people go through your courses or your flight school or whatever they're going through, do you ever notice if people have like specific things they're getting hung up on, specific areas where they're having trouble and they just need some extra guidance to push them through?
Yeah, I mean, I see that people tend to either love marketing or they love deal flow. So, the engineering types love the deal flow and they love the analysis of it. My more creative types love the marketing. They love creating the headlines. They love the pictures and the maps and creating a call to action, right? So those, two pieces right there are really where we make our money. It's the mailing or the marketing. And so we sort of help bridge that gap between the analytical and the creative, and help the creative people become more analytical and, get their numbers down and their metrics better, create systems and automation. And then we help the people that are more automation focused, operations focused, more analytical, not have paralysis by analysis, and then be more creative and and start, having fun with the marketing side of it and the selling side of it. So those two aspects of the business are really where we see people, kind of hit a wall, if you will, and we help, get them through that wall.
And that makes perfect sense, because like if we're probably like the majority of our personality is one or the other, right? Like either the numbers person, the mechanics, or the marketing, getting yourself out there. And we need both. And I can completely relate to needing both things, but then having like a strength in one area and a weakness in the other, and needing to and just knowing that, okay, well, if the weakness is here, then deal more with the numbers, or if the weakness is in marketing, deal more with that. So that definitely makes a lot of sense. And so you mentioned that once people can get that figured out and they can get these first few deals down, they can then do more creative things. And they also mentioned that this is sort of I don't know, on the outside it looks like kind of like a boring way of making money, right? Just raw land. It's not exciting like Manhattan apartments or anything like that. So I'm curious about what kind of creative things you and your students have done with this raw land stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the creativity part of it is, doing the county research. Where am I going to go and buy this property? It's like trying to find these little hidden gems, right? Doing that type of research. And then I think it's fun that I get a little thrill every time we make a sale, just creating that new relationship, or, a new note, because we're going to be living with that person for the next 5, 10, 15, 30 years. Who knows? And then, creating little glue gifts, giving a little unexpected extra to our customers. There's a lot of creativity in that. And, just these little touches with technology and video, and just ways to sort of, create a deeper, more personal bond with that customer is super creative every step of the way. So what looks boring on the outside, as you get a little deeper into it, can be really fun and creative and fulfilling, just, from the aspect of looking at the land and the due diligence. Is there a stream, a mountain? How do I go out and how do I sort of create more demand for that property that may not on the surface be there? So there's a lot of creativity in it.
Do you have any interesting stories like that, where maybe like you had some unexpected challenge, or maybe you got super far down in that checklist of like, all right, I need to give this land to someone? Anything interesting like that, where it was just kind of a roller coaster of a ride somewhat?
Oh my gosh. So I bought this 40-acre parcel in New Mexico, and I screwed up on my due diligence, and half of it was on a mountain, and I didn't realize it. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like 30 of the acres you can't even access. It's on a mountain, and 10 of them you can use. I'm like, oh my gosh, I paid $2,500 for the 40. And so I just put it up on eBay. And I was just trying to hope to get my money out. So I put it at a dollar auction for 10 days. First day, it got bid up to $2,500. By day 10, it's at $32,500. Wow. And the guy wins, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh no, this is not going to happen. I call him up. I'm like, hey, I saw you won the auction. I just confirm you read the ad. You realize that 30 acres are not buildable. Like you can't do anything on it. It's just a mountain. He's like, it's perfect. I'm like, really? Why? He's like, well, I'm a director in LA, and I was going to shoot out there, and I didn't want to deal with having to get permits. So now I can shoot on my own raw land, the 40 acres, and I needed these views. I'm like, perfect. Wires the funds. I mean, there's a saying, there's a pig for every barn, and there really is.
Yeah, that's super amazing. Yeah, one person's trash is another person's treasure.
Yeah, yeah. So now learning from that and seeing that time and again, I don't judge. There's something for everybody. Like even if you bought swampland, you can grow shiitake mushrooms on swampland. It's just crazy. I had a client of mine, Scott Todd. He bought a mud pit, and he made $15,000 on a mud pit. The guy loved it. He wanted to go out there with his ATV and just drive around in the mud.
Funny. So yeah, and I mean, what I'm hearing from like that story and other stories that you've told today is that there's all kinds of unexpected, almost like secret, but not quite a secret, but secret just because we don't know about it. But all these ways of making money and new and interesting kind of methods that we might not have heard about or we might have overlooked. And just those last couple stories were interesting because it seems like like we've all been in kind of a situation where we've been like holding the bag in one way or another and been like, well, should I keep going or should I give up? Should I, delete the websites or should I, fire the employees or whatever? And what's really interesting about a couple of those stories in there was he kind of got to the point where it would have been easy to just like let it go or let it expire or be one of those records in the county tax listing, right? But you kept going and you find some new way to do it. So I think that's a great reminder of that. There's all kinds of ways to make money in all these different ways, and then also that we might feel like we're backed into our corner or at the end of our path there, and then you say, well, if I just let this play out, or instead of just giving up now, I put out the marketing there and then see what happens. And a lot of times we can be surprised and find a unexpected way out of the mess.
Absolutely.
Well, great stuff. And so we mentioned before thelandgeek.com. And if people listen to you today, listen to your advice, your system, your checklist, your stories, and they want to know about Mr. Mark Podolsky, is thelandgeek.com, is that the only place to be? Do you have any other places to send us?
That's great. I think that's the best place to start. And if they want, Robert, if they email support@thelandgeek.com and they use the subject line Robert Plank or RP podcast, we'll send them for free our $97 passive income launch kit so they get a little bit deeper into the business.
Super great. So guys, make sure to do that. Go to thelandgeek.com and more importantly, email support@thelandgeek.com. Put in the subject line Robert Plank Podcast. And can you tell us exactly what this $97 launch kit is?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of courses about basically how to buy and sell raw land. Kind of goes a little bit deeper into what we just discussed on this podcast today, from deal flow all the way from due diligence all the way to selling the property.
Awesome. So sounds like something everyone needs. And I'm just amazed at hearing this model. And I love how easy it sounds like to get into. It's like you don't have to be, stuck with like a house you have to live in for 30 years. You don't have to save up $100,000 or $200,000. It sounds like you can start low ticket. And you mentioned some of your students. Some of them start with no money or do the double close sale and all that fun stuff. So more than one way to skin a cat or whatever the appropriate metaphor for that is, but all kinds of ways to get this done. And so if you want to find out how to get this done, if you've always been curious about real estate or curious about a new way of making money with real estate, you've heard about this raw land stuff, whatever your reason is for being curious about the episode that you just listened to today, well, then make sure to go to thelandgeek.com. And then also, once you're there, email support@thelandgeek.com, put in the subject line Robert Plank Podcast, and ask about that $97 launch kit so that you can find out what all the fuss is about, how to use this system, so that way you can become a player and not just a spectator and have some fun and make some money in the process with this kind of not really widely known income stream that a lot of people overlook because, for whatever reason they overlook it, but it sounds super interesting and it sounds like a way for anyone to jump into this real estate stuff. So make sure to check out thelandgeek.com. And thanks, Mr. Mark, for stopping by and sharing some of your wisdom with us today.
Robert Plank, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Have you had a chance to rate and review the show yet? If not, go right now to marketeroftheday.com/iTunes. Click View in iTunes and click the Ratings tab. We would really appreciate a 5-star rating or whatever you think is fair, plus a quick 1-sentence review to tell us how we're doing. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.